The stars looked different from the observation deck of the U.S. Endeavour. Captain John Miller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the massive alien ship approached. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent metal unknown to Earth scientists. 2 minutes until they dock, sir, said Lieutenant Kate Howard. She stood at attention beside him, her uniform crisp and perfect. John nodded. Our first aliens. Never thought I'd see the day. The Valkyrian ship was 5 times the size of the Endeavour. Earth had detected their signals 3 months ago. The aliens called themselves the Valkyrian Alliance, a coalition of species from 12 different star systems. Remember, John said to his crew, we represent all of humanity today. The ship shuddered as the docking mechanisms engaged. John led his team to the airlock. Besides Kate, there was Dr. Frank Williams, Earth's leading xenobiologist, and Greg Martinez, the diplomatic advisor. The airlock hissed open. John stepped forward with a practiced smile. The smile froze on his face. The aliens were huge. The tallest stood over 8 feet, with shoulders twice as wide as any human. Their skin looked like polished stone, with ridges and plates that formed natural armor. The one in front had deep purple skin with gold markings around its 4 eyes. I am High Commander Zex Tor of the Valkyrian Alliance, it said in perfect English. Their translation technology was clearly advanced. We come to evaluate your species. John extended his hand. Captain John Miller of Earth, we welcome you in peace. Zex Tor looked at John's hand with what seemed like disgust. He did not take it. We will proceed to your meeting chamber, Zex Tor said. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. As they walked through the ship, Kate noticed how the aliens moved. Despite their size, they were graceful. Their muscles rippled under their armored skin. One of them, slightly shorter than Zex Tor, kept looking at the humans with what seemed like amusement. In the conference room, John offered the aliens seats specially reinforced for their size. Earth had prepared for this moment for months. The Valkyrian Alliance spans 57 star systems. Zex Tor began. We bring order and protection to developing species. Earth looks forward to peaceful exchange of knowledge and culture, Greg said. The shorter alien made a sound like rocks grinding together. It took Kate a moment to realize it was laughter. Knowledge exchange. The alien said, what could your species offer us? Look at yourselves. Sub-Commander Krav, Zex Tor said, but he did not sound disapproving. These humans are so soft, Krav continued. He reached out suddenly and poked John's arm with a stone-like finger. No natural armor. No significant muscle mass. No evolutionary advantages whatsoever. John maintained his composure. We have other strengths. Such as, Zex Tor asked. Our adaptability. Our intelligence. Our technology. The aliens looked around the ship, taking in the Earth technology. Zex Tor made a dismissive gesture. Primitive, he said. Your species is at least 200 cycles behind even the youngest members of our alliance. Kate felt her face grow hot. She had spent her life working on technologies these aliens were dismissing. But she kept quiet. This wasn't the time. The Valkyrian Alliance offers Earth protection, Zex Tor continued. Your species will serve as resource gatherers and basic labor for more advanced species. In return, you receive our protection and limited access to our technology. John's expression didn't change, but Kate saw his jaw tighten. That sounds more like servitude than alliance, John said carefully. It is what your species is suited for, Krav said. With your fragile flesh shells, what else could you offer? The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens showed recordings of their homeworlds, their technologies, their military might. It was impressive, but the message was clear. Earth was being offered a place at the bottom of their hierarchy. When the aliens finally left, John called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. They're not looking for allies, he said. They're looking for servants. Kate spoke up. Perhaps it's time to show them what humans can really do. John looked at her. They both knew what she meant. Project Titan had been kept secret for years, even from most of Earth's governments. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," John said. "I think it's time we introduce the Valkyrians to humanity's real capabilities." 5 years earlier, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Kate Howard watched as the test pilot screamed. The early Titan suit had locked up again. Technicians rushed to power down the system. The pilot's pain stopped when they finally cut the neural connection. "Third failure this month," Dr. Alan Peters said, rubbing his tired eyes. He was head scientist of Project Titan, a man with wild gray hair and permanent dark circles under his eyes. "The neural feedback is still too strong." Kate nodded. She had joined the project just after finishing her engineering degree. Now she was one of the lead designers. "We need to add more buffers to the system." Colonel Patricia Wright walked in, her face serious as always. She commanded Project Titan, and she didn't accept failure. "The Joint Chiefs want an update tomorrow. Please tell me we have good news." Alan sighed. "We're close. The strength amplification works. The armor deploys. We just can't get the neural interface right." "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong," Kate said. Both of them turned to look at her. She was young compared to the other engineers, but her ideas were often the best. "Instead of fighting the pain, what if we use it?" 3 months later, Kate was strapped to a table as micro-machines were injected into her body. She had volunteered to be the first real test subject for the new approach. "The nano-components will bond with your nervous system," Alan explained. "They'll stay dormant under your skin until activated." Kate tried not to show her fear. And then you'll be the strongest human who ever lived." The process took 6 hours. When Kate stood up, she looked the same. There was no sign of the millions of tiny machines now living inside her. "Ready?" Alan asked. Kate nodded. She took a deep breath and sent the mental command they had practiced. Pain flashed through her entire body, but it was different now, more like intense pressure than true pain. Her skin rippled as something emerged from within. In seconds, she was encased in a suit of gleaming metal armor. It had formed around her, growing from those tiny machines inside her body. The suit stood 7 feet tall, with Kate perfectly centered within it. "How do you feel?" Patricia asked. Kate lifted her arm. The suit moved perfectly with her thought. She walked to the testing area where a weight set was prepared. The heaviest weight was marked at 1 ton. Kate picked it up with one hand. It felt like lifting a gallon of milk. "I feel powerful," she said. Over the next few years, Project Titan expanded. They fixed the pain issues. They made the armor deploy faster. They added weapon systems, flight capabilities, and specialized variants. Most importantly, they trained more operators. Sam Rodriguez specialized in speed. His Titan suit was lighter, built for agility and quick strikes. Eric Nelson focused on environmental adaptation. His suit could function in space, underwater, or in toxic atmospheres. Kate's specialty was overall combat effectiveness, the perfect balance of strength, speed, and tactical systems. The program remained secret. Even the president only knew the basics. They feared if the world knew about Titan, it would start an arms race that might destroy humanity before it could help. Then the Valkyrians arrived. 3 days after the meeting on the U.S. Endeavor, Kate stood in the White House Situation Room. Captain Miller had just finished briefing the President and Joint Chiefs on the Valkyrian offer. "They think we're weak," the President said. "They want to make us their servants." "They judged us by our bodies," Kate said. "They have no idea what humans can really do." Patricia stepped forward. "Madam President, it's time to reveal Project Titan." The room was silent as they showed the footage of Titan suits in action. Operators lifting tanks, moving faster than cameras could track, surviving direct hits from weapons that would vaporize normal humans. "We've spent 5 years perfecting this technology," Patricia explained. "It's ready." The President nodded slowly. "Set up a demonstration for our new alien friends. Let's show them what these primitive human bodies can really do. Kate smiled. She had waited years for a chance to prove what Titan could do. Now she would prove it to an entire alien civilization. The message to the Valkyrian Alliance was simple. Earth respectfully declined their offer to become servants and instead proposed a demonstration of human capabilities. Captain John Miller delivered the message himself, standing tall despite the looks of amusement from the alien representatives. A demonstration, High Commander Zextor said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Of what exactly? A series of physical challenges, John explained, to show what humans are truly capable of. Sub-Commander Krav made that grinding laugh sound again. Your soft bodies against Valkyrian strength. This will be amusing, at least. 1 week later, a small Earth shuttle docked at the lunar base. The facility had been built as a joint project between major Earth nations 5 years earlier. It was neutral ground, perfect for the demonstration. Kate Howard stepped out of the shuttle, followed by Sam Rodriguez and Eric Nelson. Captain Miller led the group. All 4 wore simple gray uniforms with no visible protection or equipment. They looked completely ordinary. The Valkyrian ship arrived shortly after, much larger and more impressive than the human shuttle. From it emerged High Commander Zextor, Sub-Commander Krav, and 3 other aliens. 2 were Valkyrians like Zextor, with their stone-like purple skin. The third was from a different species, tall and thin with 4 arms and skin that looked like metal. These are our champions, Zextor announced. Morlach and Drav are elite warriors from our homeworld. Synthar is a Kelzarian, one of our allied species. John nodded respectfully. These are Earth's representatives. The aliens looked at the humans with clear disdain. The 4-armed Kelzarian leaned down to inspect Kate, who stood her ground despite the alien being nearly twice her height. This small one is a competitor, Synthar asked, his voice like metal scraping. She would break if I merely flicked her with my finger. Kate smiled politely. We'll see. The lunar base staff had prepared a large chamber for the events. The artificial gravity was set to Earth normal so the competitions would be fair. The first test was simple, a strength challenge. We will begin with lifting, Zextor explained. Each competitor will attempt to lift increasingly heavy weights. The weights were standardized metal cubes of different sizes. They started small, 100 pounds. Each alien lifted it with ease. When Kate's turn came, she made a show of straining slightly, though she could have lifted it with 1 finger. The weights increased. 200 pounds, 500, 1,000. All competitors continued to succeed, though Kate and the other humans pretended to find it increasingly difficult. At 2,000 pounds, Sam made a show of barely succeeding. At 3,000, Eric pretended to reach his limit and stepped back. Already giving up, Krav taunted. Just saving my energy, Eric replied with a smile. At 5,000 pounds, only Kate remained on the human side. All 3 alien champions were still competing easily. The Kelzarian lifted the weight with just 2 of his 4 arms, showing off. Last human standing, Zextor noted, but not for long. The next weight was 8,000 pounds, far beyond what any unaugmented human could lift. Kate stepped forward, rolling her shoulders. This should be interesting, Krav said. Let's see the human embarrass herself. Kate stood before the massive metal cube. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and sent the mental command. A ripple moved across her skin. The aliens leaned forward, confused by what they were seeing. Tiny silver dots emerged from Kate's skin, spreading rapidly across her body. They flowed like liquid metal, connecting and growing. In seconds, Kate was no longer a small human woman. She stood 7 feet tall, encased in a suit of gleaming armor that had formed from within her own body. The Titan suit hummed with power. Without a word, Kate reached down and lifted the 8,000-pound weight with 1 hand. She held it above her head, then gently set it down. The room was completely silent. The aliens stared in shock. "What is this?" Zex Tor finally asked, his voice barely a whisper. Kate's helmet retracted, revealing her smiling face. "This is what humans are capable of. And we're just getting started." Sub-Commander Krav pounded his stone fist on the table. "This is deception. The humans have hidden their true nature from us." The meeting room was tense. After Kate's demonstration, the aliens had demanded an explanation. Now the human team sat across from the Valkyrian representatives. Kate had deactivated her Titan suit, once again looking like a normal human. High Commander Zex Tor raised his hand for silence. "Explain this technology," he said to Captain Miller. "It's called the Titan system," John replied calmly. "Advanced nanomachines that live inside our bodies. When activated, they form a powered exoskeleton that enhances our natural abilities." Sam and Eric stood up. They activated their own suits. Like Kate's, their skin rippled as the tiny machines emerged and formed armor around them. Sam's suit was sleeker, built for speed. Eric's was bulkier with extra systems for environmental protection. "We've had this technology for 5 years," John continued. "It remains dormant inside the operator until needed." Zinthar, the 4-armed Kelzarian, leaned forward with interest. "The machines live inside you. Do they not harm your fragile bodies?" "They become part of us," Kate explained. "The early versions caused pain, but we solved that problem. Now they feel like a natural extension of ourselves." Zex Tor studied the 3 armored humans. "How strong does this make you?" Kate gestured to the weight she had lifted. "That was nothing. At full power, I could lift a small spacecraft." "Impossible," Krav said, but he sounded less certain now. "Perhaps a full demonstration would help," John suggested. "We came prepared to show you everything Titan can do." The aliens exchanged looks. Then Zex Tor nodded. "We will continue the competitions as planned." They moved to another chamber in the lunar base. This one was larger, with a complex obstacle course set up. There were walls to climb, gaps to jump, and moving barriers to avoid. "This will test speed and agility," Zex Tor explained. "Morlach is our fastest warrior. He will represent the Alliance." The purple-skinned alien stepped forward. He was smaller than Zex Tor, but still towered over the humans. Sam stepped up. "I'll run for Earth." Morlach went first. He moved with surprising speed for his size, leaping over barriers and rushing through the course. He finished in just over 2 minutes. The aliens clapped their stone hands together in approval. Sam activated his Titan suit again. Unlike Kate's, his was designed for maximum speed with lighter armor and enhanced joint actuators. He took his position at the starting line. "Begin," Zex Tor said. Sam became a blur. The Titan suit propelled him through the course at incredible speed. He didn't just jump the barriers, he practically flew over them. Where Morlach had to run around certain obstacles, Sam simply went through them, the armor protecting him from impact. He finished in 38 seconds, less than a third of the aliens' time. The aliens were silent again, but this time their body language showed something new: concern. "The suits have different specialties," John explained. "Each is customized for the operator and their role." "How many of these Titan operators do you have?" Zex Tor asked quietly. "Enough," John replied. He didn't mention that there were currently only 12 fully trained operators on Earth. The aliens didn't need to know that. Krav turned to Zex Tor. "High Commander, these humans have deceived us. We thought them weak when they are not. This changes everything." "We didn't deceive you," Kate said. "You made assumptions about us based on our natural bodies. You never asked if we had technologies to enhance ourselves." "The tests must continue," Zex Tor declared after a moment. "I want to see everything these Titan suits can do." Eric stepped forward. "My turn next. My specialty is survival in extreme environments. Would you like to see a human walk unprotected in the vacuum of space?" The alien's 4 eyes widened. Even Krav seemed impressed despite his anger. John smiled slightly. The plan was working. Earth wouldn't be anyone's servant. After today, the Valkyrian Alliance would see humans as equals, or maybe even as something to fear. Eric's demonstration was next. The airlock to the lunar surface stood ready. Everyone watched through the thick glass windows as Eric stepped inside alone. Is he truly going outside without protection? Synthar asked, all four arms crossed in disbelief. Watch, Kate said. Inside the airlock, Eric activated his Titan suit. Unlike the others, his armor was thicker, with extra systems built into the chest and back. The airlock cycled, and the outer door opened to the vacuum of space. Eric walked out onto the lunar surface. He moved easily in the low gravity, taking long bounds across the gray dust. The temperature outside was extreme, burning hot in the sun, freezing cold in the shadows. The radiation levels were deadly to unprotected humans, but Eric moved as if he were walking in a park on Earth. After 5 minutes, he returned through the airlock. When the inner door opened, his helmet retracted to show his smiling face. How was your walk? Sam asked. Beautiful day out there, Eric replied. I could have stayed for hours. The aliens whispered among themselves. Even Krav seemed impressed now. Your turn, Zextor said to Xanthar. Show them what a Kelzarian can do. The four-armed alien nodded. He wore a thin spacesuit as he entered the airlock. When he stepped onto the lunar surface, his movements were slow and careful. He lasted only 2 minutes before returning. The cold was affecting my joints, Xanthar explained. Our bodies are not made for such environments. But your technology lets you survive, Kate pointed out, just as ours does. Zextor nodded slowly. Perhaps we are not so different after all. The next test was combat. A series of combat drones had been prepared. They were programmed to attack with increasing levels of difficulty. Drav will demonstrate our combat capabilities, Zextor announced. The large Valkyrian warrior stepped forward. He carried no weapons. His stone-like body was weapon enough. When the drones attacked, he smashed them with powerful blows. His natural armor deflected their energy weapons. He destroyed 20 drones before being overwhelmed by their numbers. Impressive, John said, and he meant it. Kate stepped up next. Her Titan suit was balanced for all-around combat. When the drones attacked, she moved with incredible speed and strength. Where Drav had relied on brute force, Kate used precision and tactics. She destroyed 50 drones before John called a halt to the test. She could continue, John explained. But I think we've made our point. Something changed in Zextor's 4 eyes. Yes, you have. As they moved to the final testing area, Sam noticed one of the Valkyrians touching a control panel in the hallway. He didn't say anything, but he signaled to Kate with a subtle hand gesture. The final test was supposed to be a simulated rescue mission. A chamber had been set up with artificial hazards, fire, collapsed structures, toxic gas. The goal was to rescue targets while avoiding dangers. But as they prepared to begin, alarms blared throughout the base. System failure in Section 7, a voice announced. Catastrophic breach imminent. The humans and aliens looked at each other in confusion. Then the floor shook. A real explosion, not a simulation. That's near the main life support system, Eric said. If it fails, everyone on the base will die. Captain Miller, who had been observing without a suit, stepped forward. Everyone evacuate to the ships. Kate, you and the team check the damage. What about you? Kate asked. John smiled. I didn't come unprepared. He closed his eyes. Like the others, his skin rippled as silver dots emerged. But his Titan suit was different, sleeker, with command systems built into the forearms. The helmet formed around his head last, with an enhanced heads-up display inside. Commander variant, he explained to the surprised aliens. Now let's go save this base. As they rushed toward the damaged section, Krav fell into step beside them. This was not part of the plan, he said quietly. Kate gave him a hard look. Whose plan? The damage was worse than they expected. The explosion had torn through walls and destroyed key life support systems. Air was leaking into space. Warning lights flashed everywhere. We have 15 minutes before the whole base loses air, Eric said, checking the computer panel. Captain Miller took command. Eric, seal the breach. Kate, get the backup systems online. Sam, help evacuate anyone still in the area. They moved quickly, their Titan suits making the work possible. Eric welded metal plates over the hole in the wall with tools built into his suit's fingers. Kate rewired damaged systems, her hands moving too fast to see clearly. Sam carried injured lunar base staff to safety. Zextor watched them work with new respect in his 4 eyes. These humans are more capable than we thought, he said to Krav. But Krav wasn't listening. He touched a device on his wrist and spoke quietly. They are in position. Begin Phase 2. A new alarm sounded. 5 Valkyrian soldiers appeared at the far end of the corridor, weapons raised. These weren't part of the diplomatic team. They wore combat armor and carried energy weapons. What is the meaning of this? Zextor demanded. The future of our alliance, Krav replied. He pulled a weapon from his belt and pointed it at his commander. The humans have technology we need. Their Titan system will make our warriors unstoppable. John stepped between Krav and the other humans. This isn't how allies behave. We were never going to be allies, Krav said. Not as equals. But we will take your technology. The Valkyrian soldiers moved forward. Their weapons hummed with energy. Take the humans alive, Krav ordered. We need them to understand how the nanomachines work. Kate, Sam, and Eric formed a protective line in front of the injured base staff. Their Titan armor gleamed under the emergency lights. You're making a mistake, Kate warned. Am I? Krav laughed. There are only 4 of you with this technology. We have an entire fleet above. The first shots came without warning. Energy blasts hit the humans' armor. The Titan suits absorbed most of the impact, but the force pushed them back. Defensive positions, John ordered. The fight was chaotic. The Titan operators had superior technology, but the Valkyrians had numbers. More alien soldiers poured in from connecting corridors. The humans couldn't retreat without abandoning the injured. Sam used his speed to confuse the attackers, moving too fast to target effectively. Eric's heavy armor made him almost impossible to hurt. Kate disabled weapons with precise strikes. But they were being overwhelmed. Then the wall behind the Valkyrians exploded inward. Through the new hole stepped Colonel Patricia Wright, fully armored in a Titan suit with heavy weapons attached to both arms. Behind her came 8 more operators, each in full armor. Sorry we're late to the party, Patricia said over the shared communication system. Traffic was terrible. The battle shifted instantly. The human reinforcements moved with practiced coordination. They disabled rather than killed when possible, using non-lethal options first. Krav realized he was losing. He aimed his weapon at Zextor. Call off the humans, or I'll kill you. Before he could fire, John moved. His commander suit had one feature the others lacked: short-range teleportation. He vanished and reappeared behind Krav, grabbing the weapon. It's over, John said. Krav fought wildly, but the Titan suit made John too strong. In seconds, Krav was pinned to the floor. The remaining Valkyrian soldiers lowered their weapons when they saw their leader captured. Zextor approached John. The High Commander was bleeding from a wound in his arm. I did not authorize this attack. Krav acted against my orders. I believe you, John said. But this changes things between our peoples. Zextor looked around at the Titan operators. Some were helping the injured. Others were repairing critical systems. Despite the attack, they were still saving the base, and with it, all lives aboard, including the aliens. Yes, Zextor agreed quietly. Everything has changed. As medical teams arrived, Kate approached John. Colonel Wright says 3 Valkyrian ships tried to attack Earth while we were here. They were disabled by our defense systems. John nodded grimly. Crab's plan was bigger than we thought. What happens now? Kate asked. John looked at Zextor, who was watching them with new understanding in his eyes. Now we negotiate, as equals. 1 month later, Kate stood in the Grand Meeting Hall of the United Nations. The room was packed with leaders from every nation on Earth. At the center of the room stood a large round table. On one side sat the human delegation. On the other, the Valkyrian representatives. High Commander Zextor looked different now. His wounds had healed, but something in his eyes had changed. He carried himself with the same pride, but there was a new respect when he looked at the humans. The Valkyrian Alliance has considered your terms, Zextor said. His voice filled the room. We accept them. A murmur ran through the crowd. After the attack, many humans had wanted to break off all contact with the aliens, but wiser heads had prevailed. Then let us begin a new chapter between our peoples, the Secretary General said. Not as masters and servants, but as equals. The treaty was signed with great ceremony. The Valkyrians would share their advanced space travel technology. Humans would share the Titan system and other innovations. Both sides would benefit. After the signing, Kate found herself alone with Zextor in a quiet garden outside the building. Your people have surprised me, the alien said. I have served the Alliance for 200 years. In all that time, I never encountered a species that changed my thinking so completely. Kate smiled. We're good at surprising people. My scientists have studied your Titan technology. Zextor continued. It is remarkable. We could never have created it. Why not? Kate asked. Your technology is advanced in many ways. Because we never needed to, Zextor explained. Our bodies are naturally strong. Our skin is naturally armored. We never had to overcome physical limitations, so we never looked for solutions like your Titan system. Kate understood then. Our weakness was our strength. Precisely, Zextor agreed. Humans had to be clever to survive. You had to create technology to overcome your limitations. We grew complacent in our natural abilities. Later that day, Kate met with John, Sam, and Eric in a small conference room. Colonel Wright was there too, along with Dr. Peters. The Titan training program is expanding, Patricia told them. We're accepting applicants from all nations now, and some non-humans too. Non-humans? Sam asked. 3 Valkyrians and a Kelzarian have volunteered, Patricia explained. They want to learn how our technology works. Alan showed them plans on a screen. We're also designing new Titan variants, some specifically for alien biology. This is more than I ever expected, Kate said. When we started the program, it was just for defense. Now it's bringing species together. John nodded. Sometimes the best way to prevent war is to show your strength. The Valkyrians respect power. Now they respect us. 6 months later, Kate stood in a large training room. In front of her were 20 students, 10 humans and 10 aliens from various species. All were there to learn how to use Titan suits. The technology will feel strange at first, Kate told them. The nano-machines become part of you. They learn from you, and you learn from them. She activated her suit to show them. The silver dots emerged from her skin, flowing into the familiar armor. Some of the alien students gasped in wonder. In time, you'll forget you're wearing a suit at all, she continued. It becomes an extension of yourself. A young Valkyrian raised his hand. Will it hurt? Kate smiled. The first time, yes. But it gets easier, and it's worth it. As the training began, Kate thought about how much had changed. Just months ago, the Valkyrians had laughed at humans for being weak. Now they were learning from humans, working alongside them. In the command center above the training room, John watched the session with Zextor. A Valkyrian once told me that humans were only good for basic labor, John said. What do you think now? Zextor watched as Kate demonstrated combat moves to the mixed group of students. I think the universe is about to change in ways none of us could have imagined. John smiled. That's what humans do best.